guys, Hectico from hecticosays here, and I've got a brand new video today. Today's video is a new top 10 about the top 10 weapons in video games. Now before we get into the actual video, let's go over a few ground rules. Rule number 1. This list, much like my other top 10s, is primarily an opinion, so don't take it too seriously. Rule number 2. I know when you think of weapons, you think of guns and swords, but for this list, anything that can be weaponized counts. Rule number 3. The weapon must be usable by the playable characters. And last but not least, rule number 4. What the hell is rule number 4? Oh yeah, rule number 4. Only one weapon per series to avoid redundancies and favoritism. So, without any more rambling from me, let's get into the video. The Gale Boomerang. The Gale Boomerang is, well, as you've probably already guessed, a boomerang. The Gale Boomerang originated in the 2006 masterpiece, The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. While making your way through the game's first temple, you'll come across this weapon and quickly learn that it is no ordinary boomerang. The Gale Boomerang, in theory, works just like any other boomerang, but has two key differences. First, when thrown, the Gale Boomerang generates a small whirlwind around itself, which can be used to put out fires, retrieve out-of-reach items, transport bombs, and stun enemies. The second, and in my opinion even cooler feature, is that it can simultaneously target 5 different objects or enemies and move to each in sequence. Even though it's only number 10 on this list, it shouldn't be overlooked, as it might just blow you away. The Golden Gun. I know this weapon needs no introduction. I can't count how many times my friends and I have waged war over this damn thing. The Golden Gun is truly just a single-shot pistol assembled from a lighter, pen, cigarette case, and cufflink. What makes it so important, however, is not its parts or its color, but its ability to kill any player with a single shot, regardless of where the shot lands. If that's not cool, then I don't know what is. The Handheld Graviton Accelerator, or as it's more colloquially known, the Force Gun. This Dead Space weapon was unlike anything I had ever seen before. The Force Gun is, by definition, a short-range kinetic booster. Basically, it fires out a wide kinetic blast, much like the way a shotgun fires, but with no actual bullets. Accompanying that same point is the concept of range. While virtually useless from afar, the Force Gun packs quite a punch when used in close-range situations, and many times will help give you some breathing room when the necromorphs swarm you. Another key feature worth mentioning is its secondary fire modes. The Force Gun has 2 alternate fire modes which are both just as, if not cooler, than its primary function. The first is known as the Force Bomb, which serves as a grenade launcher, but instead of your run-of-the-mill bomb, you get, well, a Force Bomb. The second has no documented name that I could find, but it is quite interesting. It shoots out a narrow beam that is able to pierce through multiple necromorphs for maximum penetration. The Auger. Does anyone remember Resistance Fall of Man for the PlayStation 3? If you do, then you'll definitely remember this baby. The Auger is a carbine-like weapon that fires transient radiation capable of traveling through solid matter. In layman's terms, it shoots through stuff, except for organic tissue which is severely burned on contact. The true amazingness, assuming that's an actual word, lies in its secondary fire though. If your opponent isn't behind a wall and out in the open, the Auger seems kinda banal, until all of a sudden you realize your secondary fire creates an impenetrable shield that you can hide behind. The shield stops all gunfire except that of another Auger, so I'm sure you guys can put 2 and 2 together and understand how cool that is. The Vampire Killer. This Castlevania mainstay is, on its own, just a whip. But when it's fused with the bloodline of the legendary Belmont clan, it becomes, well, actually it still stays a whip. But for canonical purposes, we'll say it becomes much stronger. The cool thing about this whip is its ability to change itself depending on what upgrades have been collected. Typically the base form of this whip is portrayed as either a leather or chain whip, but with upgrades it manages to become a flame whip, a lightning whip, a flail, or even a sword. It's like having your own personal arsenal of elemental and physical weaponry. And as the name implies, it kills vampires, so Edward Cullen better watch his ass. The Lightsaber. Everyone knows what this is, so don't expect a super long explanation here. The Lightsaber consists of a blade made out of pure plasma that emits from the hilt and held in by a force containment field. Colloquially known as the laser sword, the Lightsaber has the ability to slice through and penetrate just about anything, and has many variations to fit the style of the user. All in all, it's one hell of a weapon. Clementine. Clementine is a flying V guitar that debuted in Brutal Legend, which may have one of the greatest soundtracks of all time, but that's a different video entirely. Anyway, back to Clementine. This guitar serves as a ranged weapon that can burn or electrocute enemies, in addition to giving the main character the ability to play solos that have various effects like causing earthquakes. The main, and in my opinion only downfall to this weapon, is that its power can't be used constantly for long periods of time as the strings start to heat up, making the guitar unplayable. The Gunblade. This Final Fantasy weapon has only appeared in 2 video games and took on completely different shapes for each of the 2. First, we'll be discussing the revolver model of the Gunblade from Final Fantasy VIII. Luckily, I actually happen to own the revolver model Gunblade, and as you can see, aside from a badass engraving, it seems just like any other blade until you get to the hilt, which has the appearance of a revolver. One of the key things worth knowing is that contrary to its name and popular belief, this Gunblade doesn't fire bullets and only serves as a melee weapon. Why the trigger and chamber then, you ask? Well, when the trigger is pulled, it sends a strong vibration into the blade, making it capable of causing much more damage. Moving on to our second Gunblade, the one that appeared in Final Fantasy XIII. This Gunblade has a much less traditional design, and I wouldn't even know how to describe it. Thank Yevon for visual media, huh? Without wasting too much time, I'd just like to say the main difference between the 2 Gunblades is that the one from Final Fantasy XIII actually fires unlike its predecessor and appears to be much more lightweight. Either way, it's one of the coolest weapons in video game history if you ask me. The Fat Man. The Fat Man is a weapon that acts as a nuclear missile launching catapult. This weapon originated from Bethesda's Fallout series and revolutionized what most of us thought handheld weapons were capable of. The ammo is referred to as mini-nukes, but the term can be misleading. If you fire one of these babies, you better be far from its contact point or your ass is grass. Or ash, actually. In all seriousness though, who wouldn't want to have their own personal nuke catapult? Actually, I'd probably end up killing myself somehow, so never mind. This weapon.
Well, it depends on how you define the word weapon.
The Iron Man weapon.
My device does not fit that description.
How would you describe it then?
It's a high-tech prosthesis.
Okay, this high-tech prosthesis is iconic. Developed by genius weapon expert Tony Stark, this suit not only provides you with protection and a self-aware system, but has a vast assortment of weapons including repulsor rays, flares, mini rockets, jet boosters, ion cannons, lasers, and so much more. While this isn't my favorite on the list, it takes the top spot purely because of what it can do and its destructive potential. Anyway guys, whether you agreed with my list or not, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe because your feedback is essential to the growth of this channel. Until next time, Hectico out.